so we're getting a bit of a treat here. You're getting a live view inside the Dragon capsule as, again, it's getting closer and closer to that entry interface coming through the Earth's atmosphere and then splashing down in the Atlantic Ocean. But first, we have a very special guest, somebody who's going to be on board a Dragon in the not-too-distant future, NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. Bob, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes. I know you're following along with the teams. There's a lot of excitement. How are you feeling about the mission so far?
Well, I think I said this before when we were out here for the ascent phase and docking. Just super excited. You know, of course, this one is the precursor for our mission that's upcoming here. And so when this one's done successfully, we'll be one step closer to our flight.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is in store for you between now and that flight? What kind of preparations do you have left to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a significant amount of training that we need to go through, so we'll walk through all the various phases of flight. So we'll do pre-launch, we'll get suited, we'll do that here in Hawthorne in the Buck. We'll do a walkthrough at the Kennedy Space Center, actually on the launch pad, learn a little bit more about the emergency escape system if we should need that prior to launching into space. And so we'll walk through all those different scenarios. Then we'll head back out here again for a couple of other events associated with docking and, of course, with the re-entry.
And so we're getting views inside the Dragon spacecraft, and I mean, a camera's okay, but it can't do the real thing justice. What's it like to be like in a spacecraft when you're coming back through and everything's heating up?
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces of coming back through the atmosphere. The first one is really emotional for those of us who've seen a lot of spacecraft come back. It's just it's very special to kind of go through that experience, and it's a physical thing as well, as you actually see the light from the atmosphere as it heats up the external portions of the spacecraft. You see some orange lights flickering, the plasma kind of go past the windows. The windows will be down in near our feet on this vehicle. That'll be our closest view out the window per se, but it's definitely something that we'll be able to see and know the outside of the vehicle is going through something pretty severe, and we'll be hoping it takes care of us as it takes us through entry.
That's incredible. I can't even imagine what that experience might be like.
Again, there's the physical piece of it. You can, sensations that come in with the light, but there's also the emotion of knowing that you're taking all that energy that you put into the vehicle to get it into orbit. It's all got to come back out so that you can get back to the ground safely.
So it's been a while since you've been to space. Is there anything you're really looking forward to when you get to the space station? Anything like what's your bucket list once you get back up there?
For me, when I get back to the International Space Station, I really am looking forward to seeing it completely complete. I was pretty close with my flight. We put the cupola on the underside of the space station, one of the things close to the construction complete on the International Space Station. So I'm looking forward to getting back in there and actually experiencing sunrises and sunsets again. They're just remarkable from on orbit. Not quite the same as they are from the ground, and can't get that anyplace else.
Last question for you. I'm sure you've been following along on social media. You've seen the photos of our zero-G indicator. Now, he's not coming back until you bring him back for us, so you'll have a little bit of time to play with him while you're on station. Is there anything that you would like to teach little Earthy while you're up on station with him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't actually realize that little Earthy was going to stay on board the space station until Lee Rosen, one of your folks here at SpaceX, come and let us know when we sat down to watch on docking, and he said, "Hey, we're going to need Earthy back. You got to bring him back." And so I think our plan is to have him teach us. He's going to welcome us aboard probably when we get there, and I think Ann and David and Oleg have trained him up well. So hopefully he can walk us through the emergency brief, and he's a full-fledged station crew member by the time that we get there.
Well, it definitely looks like he's been getting a crash course in just about everything.
Yeah, he should have it all, and he ought to be able to transfer it to us. That's part of being a crew member that arrives and takes over responsibilities on the International Space Station.
That's very cool. Well, we certainly look forward to him coming back as well as you and Doug in our Demo 2 mission in a couple of months. So it'll be very exciting.
Very much looking forward to it, as you might imagine.
Us as well.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to get back to the re-entry interface. Bob, we're going to let you go watch along because, again, vested interest in everything that's happening. Thanks so much for jumping upstairs real quick and talking about this.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, we are awaiting the deployment, or excuse me, the final phase of the re-entry of Dragon spacecraft as it's coming back through the Earth's atmosphere. I'm still kind of reeling from his comments about what it's like to actually come barreling through the Earth's atmosphere, something that you see depicted in movies and TV shows, of course, but to hear it live from the source is pretty cool. And that's exactly what Dragon and Ripley are doing right now. So we brought you a live view of that just a couple of minutes ago. That was pretty cool that we were able to get that shot. Like we said, plasma will be building up on the exterior of the vehicle as it's re-entering the atmosphere. So there's a blackout period that we were expecting, and that's where we're at right now. So, but we can't bring you a view of Ripley on her journey back to the Atlantic Ocean. You can see a view of our recovery ship there. Like I said before, we can now see that the lift arms have actuated out into the recovery position, and they're like that in anticipation of Dragon being pulled in to position closer to the end of the ship and being lifted up into the recovery nest.
And you got to imagine the teams out there on the ocean are ready for this to come home. And again, since they're about 200, give or take, nautical miles out to sea, they actually left yesterday, so they've been out on the water for some time. So they're ready and waiting. Again, the prime team is on that Ghost Searcher, and that's a bunch of SpaceX technicians who are going to be responsible for going out on some fast boats that will deploy from that prime ship. And they'll begin just basically getting the capsule stable and then bringing it in closer to ultimately get hoisted up on the ship. Also going off to make sure that they get those parachutes as those get jettisoned from the capsule at pretty much just at the moment of touchdown. So we're just going to be ready to watch all of that unfold pretty soon. We should be seeing those parachutes in about 10 or 11 minutes from now, right after Dragon begins that final plunge through the Earth's atmosphere. So we're getting a lot closer. Things are really going to pick up once we get those first views of Dragon over the Atlantic there.
Absolutely. So like Dan just said, we've got about 10 minutes until we see the first deployment, which are the deployments of the drogue parachutes. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few as we get closer to parachute deployment.
messes up the numbers. So you got that working for you in February. And also keep in mind, January, although it was revised to 311,000 jobs up. So you're going to see give back. If you go through where the numbers were, private sector was all the job growth in February. They added 25,000, and government jobs actually subtracted 5,000. So you're still sort of shaking off the effect of the government shutdown. Still, economists know all these factors going in when they make the forecast. That's why they were looking for 180 from 300,000. They weren't looking for anything this week. So we're going to have to wait to hear the White House reaction and company reaction. I will just emphasize, though, the wage numbers are very, very good. In fact, the best we've seen post-recession.
Yeah, the wage numbers are good. We also, though, again, and you're right. I mean, we actually, when you're picking up 300,000 jobs, we aren't going to do that every month. That's
exactly
100,000 more than we're used to seeing. Also, though, when we're just trying to get an overview of the economy, you also look back and see the fourth quarter numbers were a little lower than expected.
And so this is a view from that WB-57 airplane. You were looking at Dragon streaking across the sky on its re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere, aiming for a splashdown in just a little while from now.
So it's pretty exciting that we get this shot right now, as it is our first view from planet Earth of the Dragon capsule since it lifted off from Cape Canaveral just several days ago.
I will say this is a pretty rare treat to be able to see this here. And again, this video is coming from a NASA airplane that we're flying around that recovery zone there, a WB-57. It's commonly used for a lot of atmospheric studies and other science missions, but able to put a tracking camera on it to try and get this re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere today. We're hearing that they should have AOSO acquisition of signal back with the Dragon spacecraft. Right now it's about 46 kilometers in altitude.
Yeah, so just for orientation purposes, if you've seen our launches previously, you might be familiar with the angling of this as takeoff. Reminder, this is re-entry. The plane is below the Dragon spacecraft and the camera's looking upward as it's coming over the spacecraft. So it looks like from the orientation of the imagery there that the Dragon is going up when in fact it is still coming back down towards Earth.
Interesting day where you work.
Yes, the market's already sharply lower.
All right, thanks a lot. Donnie Deutsch, okay, I'm going to toss this.
And again, just keeping you on the timeline. So we actually acquired signal about a minute ahead of when it was expected. Where we're going to be looking for those initial drogue chute deployments at about 41 minutes after the hour. So after Dragon gets a little bit lower down, we're going to be keeping an eye out. You're going to see the drogue chutes deploy initially, followed by those 4 main parachutes, much larger and able to slow the vehicle down for a much softer splashdown in the ocean.
If I am a betting man, I am betting heavily. This is the beginning. Once again, you can't just look at one number. But everybody I talk to in the street, or every hedge fund guy,
we should be getting that drogue chute deployment in just about 2 minutes now.
And just heard that we're now below 30 kilometers.
When you combine it with healthcare. So the videotape we will replay once a month, viewers of Morning Joe, to see how wrong I usually am.
That sounds awesome. Really, again, Donnie brings up a good point, though. A lot of times it's cyclical. We've been on a 10-year recovery. At some point,
and if you're just now tuning in, this is Dragon. This is Dragon coming home from a camera on board a chase plane there at the landing zone over the Atlantic, about 200 or so nautical miles off the coast of Florida. We're under 30 kilometers, continuing to descend. The next milestone we're going to be looking for is parachute deployment.
Now, former Colorado governor and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate John Hickenlooper. Governor, it's great to have you on with us. For people who
and hearing we're now about 20 kilometers in altitude.
Geologist turned co-founder of a brewery, turned mayor of Denver, turned governor of Colorado. I believe a nationally ranked squash player, if I have my stats correct. So we'll put the first question to you that we put to every candidate who sat across from us on the show. Why do you want to be president of the United States?
You know, I'm running for president because I love this country. But B, I see the country in a crisis.
The Dragon spacecraft continuing to descend. It's now subsonic, so already starting to slow down thanks to the error braking, basically slamming into that Earth's atmosphere, causes a lot of friction and allows the vehicle to eventually reach its terminal velocity, basically. And then those parachutes are going to kick in.
So there you have visual confirmation of the deployment of our drogue parachutes. This is the first of 2 parachute deployments.
So those drogue chutes do the initial slowing, and then they're ultimately going to pull out the 4 main parachutes responsible for really slowing the spacecraft down prior to that splashdown.
You can hear cheering here at SpaceX headquarters as the employees that have gathered around our Mission Control Center are sharing the same view as you. What a gorgeous shot of Dragon coming back down.
Someone who has run a state from the executive seat over a senator.
And here come the mains.
Over the next few seconds, we will see those main parachutes exactly like that begin to expand as they capture more air, further decelerating the Dragon vehicle down to the Atlantic Ocean. Really can't ask for a more picture-perfect shot than that.
And yes, all 4 chutes now deployed. It's going to continue to descend. It's going to continue to slow down and then ultimately splash down in the Atlantic there. We're now under a kilometer in altitude.
When it came to business, what you talked about sounds like the American dream as far as business goes, and wow, an advertisement for American capitalism. Are you concerned about some factions of your party raising socialism? Well, I think there's
Just about 750 meters to go.
That's one of the things I've always loved about the Democratic Party is there are all kinds of ideas. I look at my experiences and where I've tried to make a difference. And it really is getting people together, getting them to lay down their weapons, and then getting stuff done.
In case if you're just joining us, you can see on your screen there, Dragon has just re-entered the Earth's atmosphere after departing from the International Space Station. We have a gorgeous shot of 4 healthy parachutes deployed and slowing the vehicle down as it is approaching the surface of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida.
And it's continuing to descend under those chutes. We just passed 500 meters. Everything continuing to look good via reports to all the flight control teams. Now we're at about 400 meters.
Let me ask you this, I'll break it down. If you consider yourself a capitalist, well, again, the labels, I'm a small business person, so...
And just passing 300 meters, continuing to descend. We might be right on time. We were planning on splashing down at about 5:45 a.m. Pacific, and we're getting real close to that bingo time. Just past 200 meters.
And that is, if you haven't ever signed one of those leases, that rent is almost free. And it reflects how bad and how abandoned that part of the community was. We worked 70, 80, 90 hours a week to build the business.
And we have confirmation that Dragon is now under 100 meters, is 100 meters above the surface of the ocean.
Next up, standing by for splashdown.
I served on 42 nonprofit boards and committees in that same 12-year period. So, do you consider yourself a capitalist, and does capitalism work? Well, I think...
And there we have confirmation of splashdown. Dragon has returned to planet Earth. It is now back home, and you can see on your screen our 2 fast boats racing out to the capsule, now in recovery.
That splashdown came right on time, 5:45 a.m. Pacific, 8:45 a.m. over on the East Coast. The teams that have been ready and waiting, they were staged just a few nautical miles away. They're going to start moving in now. You can see those 2 fast approach boats already speeding their way towards the capsule.
while there's still a little bit more work to be done at this point, like we said, the recovery team has to safe the vehicle and then lift it onto the recovery vessel. However, obviously by the excited cheers here at Mission Control, the splashdown is an enormous event for us in terms of the safe re-entry, or excuse me, the safe return to Earth from the International Space Station.
That's right, and you'll notice two boats on their way. One boat actually responsible for beginning to safe the vehicle and get it ready to go up onto the boat. The other one's going to go off and collect those parachutes, as those four main chutes actually get jettisoned away from the spacecraft as soon as the vehicle detects that it's splashed down in the water. But if you missed it, I'm really sorry, because that was really cool to see. But Dragon did splash down at 5:45 a.m. Pacific time, 8:45 a.m. over there on the East Coast, where they're now moving in on a Dragon spacecraft in the water, ready to recover it.
Exactly. So like we said, the recovery team has been ready and waiting for a Dragon splashdown. It's been quite the morning, evening. Dan and I have been here since yesterday night, bringing you coverage from Dragon departure from the International Space Station, now all the way down to splashdown. So it's a great next milestone, and we are excited to bring you coverage of the recovery operations as well. But we have a few minutes before that happens, so we're going to take a break momentarily, and we will continue bringing coverage as the recovery operations progress.
Make sure that we are providing more opportunity to people that started out with more challenges.
Governor, I just want to interrupt. Can't we say socialism? Is it bad for Democratic Party to say socialism is a bad thing? That's not who we are.
Well, we have always when we had Social Security, people used to that at some point say that's some form of socialism. There are parts of socialism, parts of capitalism, everything. Right? A week I just got a text from one of the smartest people I know in politics who said, oh my God, the Democratic Party is in crisis. They've gotten to a point where an American success story can't even say he's a capitalist.
Yeah, that was extraordinary. I thought Governor Hickenlooper, who has done very well in life because he started up his beer company in Denver, became mayor, became the governor of the state, that benefited from capitalism. He couldn't say that he was a capitalist because he was worried about that label. I think it's a statement about where the Democratic Party is. I think it's a statement about fearing the left flank of the party. We've seen Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders obviously sticking with who they are, but even now people who are not Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, people who aren't capitalists by definition, look at the success they've had in their life of creating these businesses. It's incredible.
And it is incredible. And Don George, I know you said it, but others, again, are saying that the Democratic Party is in crisis right now. Trump is going to devour every one of these candidates if they can't say they support capitalism. But yes, it needs to be reformed. It had to be reformed after the Golden Age. It had to be reformed by Teddy Roosevelt. It had to be reformed by FDR. It had to be reformed again by LBJ. Yes, capitalism has to be reformed from time to time to work for all Americans. But my God, if you're afraid to say you're a capitalist in America, I'm just going to tell you, people on the left tweeting today may not like it. Let me let you in on a little secret. If that is a crisis for your party, you're going to lose in 2020. Just, you know what, pull up the stakes of the tent and just pack her up. The party's over.
You're going to lose it. John, I'm going to take it one step further, because this is how dangerous socialism is. I find Donald Trump reprehensible as a human being, but a socialist is more dangerous to this country as far as the strength and well-being of the country than Donald Trump. I would vote for Donald Trump. Despicable human being. But now, and let me tell you something. Let me put this. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. You always have myself.
You will never vote for a guy that's made bigoted statements for the past 3
Joe,
years.
thank you for correcting. I stand corrected. I will be so distraught to the point that can even come out of my mouth if we have a socialist event, because that will take our country so down. And we are not. We are not getting that done. Again, that's not who we are. And if you love who we are, all the great things that still happen out there, blinders put on the side. Please stay away from the socialism. Let me correct myself. I was never voting for that. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, very good. Fools rushing by. Videotape this one.
Where's my chair? Where's my chair? Right there.
By the way, don't pick on Denmark. I love Denmark. Today, we are, as John Kennedy said, I am a jelly donut, or something like that, pertaining to Denmark. Today we
So
celebrate
we're going to take a quick break from the operations because right now we have Benji Reed. He's the director of the Commercial Crew Mission Management here at SpaceX. Benji, first off, congratulations. Successful splashdown, successful end of Demo 1. What's it been like to watch through this mission? What are your thoughts? What are you looking forward to? Have you had a chance to catch your breath?
No, but I'm super excited. Thank you for having me up here. To be honest, I'm kind of shaking, and I'm super, excited. It was an incredible journey to get to this moment. The teams have just done an amazing job, both the SpaceX and the NASA teams jointly. It's fundamentally, this is like